Okay, so in this example, we're taking the limit as y goes to 1 of this couple of fractions. If we just try to plug in the 1 right there and there, it's not going to work because that would be 5 over 0 minus 10 over 0. And so those are both just infinity. That really means infinity minus infinity. And you might think, well, that's 0, infinity minus infinity. No, infinity's not that simple. There's different levels of infinity and rates of infinity. We don't know if the first infinity is bigger or smaller. No, it's just unclear when we get something like infinity subtract infinity. We don't know. The first infinity could actually be a bigger infinity. I know that seems funny, but there's actually levels of infinity. If you go into higher math beyond calculus, you can study that. But we're not doing that here. Just take my word for it. The first one could be bigger. The second one could be bigger. They could be the same, and it really could be 0. It's just there's a lot of possibilities. We just don't know at this point. It's unclear. So what? Well, that means we got to try something else. So what are we going to try? Well, what a good thing to try is to combine fractions. And let's start by get rid of this. Let's start by factoring this guy. This guy factors y minus 1, y plus 1. This guy right here factors as y minus 1, y plus 1. You can prove it over here. Let's check it. Let's check just to be sure. Y minus 1, y plus 1. You don't have to do this. I just want to show you as the teacher here so you know why this works. So it's going to come up a lot. Minus 1, minus 1. You see that right there? So I just remember how to multiply two parentheses. Take the first thing to both and the second thing to both. And then you see what happens, how these plus 1y minus 1y cancel, and you get y squared minus 1. Check. See, it went right back to y squared minus 1. So it's correct. So, okay, so then we have the limit as y goes to 1. Put these fractions right here. 5 over y minus 1. Subtract 10 over y minus 1, y plus 1. You can write them in either order. It doesn't matter. I mean the minus 1 plus 1, but you got to have one negative, one positive, because negative 1 times positive 1 makes negative 1. And y times y in the front is y squared. Okay, anyway, now how do we subtract these fractions? Remember, when you subtract fractions, you must um, have common denominators. To add or subtract fractions, you must have same or common denominators. You got to make them the same. Got to make this and this be the same. Well, how can you do this? This is y minus 1, y plus 1. This just has y minus 1. Well, right. Give it what it's missing. Let's come in here and go, okay, I'm going to give you a y plus 1. Well, here, I'll do it on the other side so it doesn't get in the way as badly. So I'll just stick it in right there, y plus 1. But you also have to do it to the top. Remember, whenever you mess with a fraction, you've got to do the same thing to the top and the bottom so you don't change the value of the fraction. And now this denominator and that denominator are common. They're the same. So we can combine them. So this is the limit as y goes to 1 of distribute 5y plus 5, and then the minus 10. Well, here, I'll keep it separate for you if it helps. Y minus 1, y plus 1, subtract, and then the other fraction, 10 over y minus 1, y plus 1. So now, I just distributed that 5. You might wonder, why'd you distribute the bottom? Well, I don't want to. I'm going to leave the common number because these are the same. So now I can combine them into one big fraction. I can say, okay, the limit as y goes to 1 of 5y plus 5 minus 10 over y minus 1. Let me do that a little better. Y plus 1. So now I can simplify this again. This is going to be 5y minus 5 on the top, right? 5 minus 10 minus 5. Now, Could I plug in the 1 now? If I put in a 1 there, 5 minus 5 is 0. That's 0. That's 2. 0 times 2 is 0. No, it still can't plug in. One more step. I'm going to factor that top. Do you see now how I can factor that top? They both have a 5 in common. So take out the 5, y minus 1. And now this and this cancel. Now we have the limit y goes to 1 of 5 over y plus 1. Now we can plug in what, let y go to 1, so put in a 1, and we get 5 over 2. There we go. Whoops. In a circle. I don't want a circle. There we go. 5 over 2. We simplified the fraction, and that is indeed the answer. There it is. 5 over 2. So recapping, what did we do there? We did a lot, didn't we? We first off, we recognized we factored this denominator. It's called a difference of squares, right? Y times y to make y squared, 1 times 1, 1 negative 1, 1 positive 1 to make negative 1. And then we said, okay, we got to subtract these fractions. To add or subtract fractions, we have to make the bottoms the same. So multiply top and bottom this one by y plus 1 to make these two denominators the same. Got to do the same thing top and bottom so we don't change the value of the fraction. So that multiplied on the top, 5y plus 5. Now they have the same denominator. Combine them together into one fraction, simplified, and then factored out that 5 on the top. Then cancel the y minus 1s. Then we could plug in the 1, and it worked. And so that's our answer. And there we go.